This week on What's Your Story, we feature Mr. Stephen Jonathan Mutuku, who works in the corporate sector as a stock controller. He's also a worship leader, an event MC, and a father of 3, Princess Shirley, Michelle, and the charming Prince Nathan. Mutuku has been a widower for the past 2 years, having been married for 20 years. As a single father, he courageously raises his special needs child, Prince Nathan. His story is one of courage, faith, and resilience. On What's Your Story? Everyone has a story. Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of What's Your Story? I am Catherine Mwangi, gratified you made the time midweek to tune in to yet another story that brings you hope, inspiration, elevation, empowerment. My guest tonight, his name is Stephen Mutuku Jonathan. Stephen has been a caregiver the last 8 years, and this person is very close to him because it's his beautiful son Nathan, his last born son. We will explore this story in the different layers it comes in. And what's important to note is, and I know if you've been an avid viewer of this program, is, you know, the authenticity, the courage, the vulnerability, and the outcomes. So why would he share his story? Is so that if you're going through similar experiences, then you find upliftment and encouragement. And also at times, you may not necessarily be going through the same thing, but we hope that he will share his number and you're able to also offer him encouragement and hope. Stephen, thank you so much for being on this program.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you came.
Thanks too.
I admire your strength and your resilience. You know, 8 years ago, you and your wife gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, Nathan. First of all, who decided on the name?
That name, it's me who decided.
Oh, it's you?
Yes.
Okay, why Nathan?
I love Nathan.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not the common Nathaniel that we know. In fact, I remember the nurses were telling us we shortened his name. So the nurses were calling him Nathaniel.
Is that so?
Yes,
okay.
in the hospital. But we told them, no, it's Nathan.
Yes.
Yes, and
okay.
it's a beautiful name.
It is. What does it mean?
Nathan is one who is chosen. Yeah. And it's a biblical name.
Yes.
Awesome. And since we had other daughters, 2 daughters,
yes,
that was a good name for him.
Yes.
Yes.
The one who is chosen.
Yes.
So he has 2 elder sisters.
Yes.
How old are they?
The firstborn is 20. She will be 21 in September.
Okay.
And the secondborn is 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 20, 15, 8.
Exactly. I know.
Okay.
I know the spacing.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a parent, as a father, what were your hopes and dreams for him?
Nathan, when he came into the world, since we had an experience with Shirley and Michelle, and my wife, Beth, as you would expect, she was looking for a baby boy.
Okay.
And at last, here he comes. And since we had another script about the 2 other children, we didn't really struggle so much about our expectation. We knew he will grow healthy, and he is a boy. We are so excited about it.
Yeah.
And Prince Charming.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so bubbly child.
Exactly.
Sanguine personality.
Yes, he's a very bubbly boy.
Okay.
Outgoing. Somebody you can laugh from the word go.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So at what point in his formative years did, I can call her Beth, your wife,
yes,
and yourself notice that something doesn't seem right?
Just as you expect of any newborn, there's some milestone you start looking at as you go back to clinic and you check on some telltale signs and what have you. And at around 9 months to 10 months, we started noticing that the head circumference was not normal per se.
Okay.
And we go back to clinic, they just tell us, no, the baby is growing.
Yeah.
And this is just the normal growth of a baby. But then we had some reservations. So at around 10 months, we decided to get a second opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. And we went to St. Mary's.
Okay.
Yes. And they did an ultrasound. They did take the circumference of the head, and sure, the head was quite big.
Okay.
As compared to a baby that
is that age, 10 months?
Age,
yes.
Yeah, 10 months. And they did an ultrasound. And indeed they noticed, yeah, there was a blockage in the head. And they gave us a name, but they needed to have it confirmed through imaging and scanning. So they referred us to any imaging services that we could access. And they went and did real scanning of the head. And sure enough, one of the ventricles was blocked. And they actually gave a name to it. They say this is a condition they refer to as hydrocephalus. That is, there is excess fluid in the brain, in the head, and it doesn't have a way out.
Right.
Then that required that immediate admission to correct this. And they gave us the various places that we could attend this to.
Right.
The options were actually basically three. One was Kenyatta National Hospital. The other was the private hospitals. And the third one, which was a bit fairer, was Kijabe Mission Hospital. Kenyatta is because such cases, they are very long queues.
Okay.
And if this condition is not attended to immediately, it could lead to other adverse complications.
Right.
The private hospitals were very expensive.
Yeah, naturally.
Just way above our pockets.
Yes.
Then our best option was Kijabe. Then this required actually immediate admission. I think he was around 1 year and 1 month thereabout.
Okay.
That's when we did the admission at Kijabe.
So why was it urgent? Were there signs? Was he in pain?
Yes, there were very many signs towards that.
Okay.
And immediately they gave us a name to this condition. Of course, you'd expect we went to Mr. Google.
Yes.
And we checked out. And there were signs like very sharp noises would irritate him. And of course, the bulging head was another one. And that's why we discovered that, wow, if this is not arrested immediately to correct it, it's going to cause more damage.
Right.
Yes.
So as a parent, at that point where you're given the name of what this condition is, and you do your own research, and you see the gravity, so what is that moment like? Could you tell us that like what are you thinking? What are you feeling?
I had to remain strong for everyone,
Yeah.
and especially my wife,
Yeah.
because it actually hit us so much. Because here on one hand, you're looking at the milestones that go with it. There are some which actually damage the brain, because if there is a delay in correcting this, some of the organs are actually affected. That will affect the speech, that will affect the memory, that will affect even the physical condition, and it will delay so many other items like walking, stability, and what have you. And with this at the back of my mind, I knew that I will not major on the negative so much. There's still a way out to correct it. So let's pursue this. Yes. So that was what actually kept me going.
Yes.
Like there's a solution,
Yes.
at least for this condition.
So it feels like you decided to be pragmatic and theoretic, and you put the emotional, your emotional self aside because there's a solution. Let's pursue.
Yes.
And then when you pursued it, what are the steps you took?
Actually, by the time we were reaching this stage, there's another script that actually was behind this, because we had some questions, because during the first trimester of my wife, this pregnancy, that's where actually the issue started up.
Oh.
So one time we were just sleeping, and somewhere past midnight, I feel a sudden shaking of the bed. And it's like, I'm wondering, where is that shaking coming from? Only to put on the headlight, the bed light switch, the shaking was actually coming from my wife. Something that I've never witnessed in our 20 years of marriage. It was a seizure. Yes. We rushed to hospital, and then they admitted her on emergency. And then we told the admitting emergency section that she's pregnant, first trimester. Then they associated maybe that she's of the conversion to that.
I see.
Only to realize that was the beginning of issues. Yeah.
So it was a difficult pregnancy?
It was a difficult pregnancy because later on she also got another attack during the pregnancy. But she was stabilized and we were discharged. But later on, during the journey of that pregnancy, she got other convulsions. And we were looking for answers. Why?
Yeah.
Why convulsions at this age? For them convulsions or seizures. Then the doctors had to put her on some long-term kind of medication.
Right.
Yeah, to take care of the convulsion because of the pregnancy.
Yes. Okay.
But
so
she
you
carried
connect the two?
Yes, I connect the two, even though we never got to know the answers, because apparently the medical world, we realize it's a very wide. Sometimes the doctors have the answers, sometimes they don't have. But she carried the pregnancy to full term.
Full term, yes.
With some mild anticonvulsants on her.
Okay.
On full term, on delivery in 2016, even though it was a CS, because the other two kids also CS section. So they will always advise you that, yeah, even the next pregnancy is just the same way.
Yes.
So Nathan was born a healthy baby. Yeah. And then they boosted the anticonvulsants for my wife after the pregnancy, because what she was given was a bit mild.
Okay.
Then now we started observing, you know, there are those telltale signs of when the baby is growing, that at a certain age you should have sat down and what have you. So that's how it came out. Like even much later we were asking, could there have been a connection between the medication and how Nathan turned out?
Yes.
Yeah.
So once you knew this is what you're dealing with as a family, did you, obviously your life changed. You had to change a few things. You had to, you know, and you just said you wanted to go for the solution.
Yes.
So just run us through what those changes were and how as well, you know, being the head of the home, how you just had to bring everybody together to support each other and to support Nathan. Okay. Yeah.
So we made up our minds at the mission. This was at Kijabe Mission.
Yeah.
We go in and they of course tell us what it entails, how to correct this situation. Because the basic one is actually to do a surgery. This surgery entails putting a kind of a pipe. In the medical world they call it a shunt. It's supposed to be planted. By the way, we learned that it's a fluid every other person has.
Okay.
Every normal person. It's just excess fluid. It comes in, it's a lubricant of the brain. Okay. Yeah. So it comes in the right quantities and it is drained out.
Right.
So for hydrocephalus, there is no outlet for it. So the basic way is to do a surgery on the head and do an implant of the pipe, plant it or where the draining is supposed to naturally occur. And then they put the shunt now below the skin at the base of the brain. It runs through the skin into the stomach, to the abdomen, to do now an artificial draining. And this is a baby about 1 year and 2 months thereabout. And it's like a major surgery. Nathan is so tiny. We had to remain strong. Of course, there was a lot of medication for us to check whether his body will accept that. And clinically, they decided, okay, it's well, they can do for it. And we had to move with speed. And Kijabe, of course, they've done so many of such cases.
Yeah.
And we had to move with speed because you delay it, as the fluid or as the brain expands, and the baby is growing, it worsens the scenario about the faculties of functionality of the normal body. So it was very successful.
Yes.
The first surgery, I call it first surgery because there were other two.
After that.
Yes, after that.
Right.
So of course we were given instructions on how to take care of the shunt, how to do therapy, because we had a few exercises, how to dress the wounds. And we knew we were on the right direction.
Yes.
And I think at this stage I should mention, we were in a group of couples.
Okay.
And apparently during this season, my wife and 3 other mothers actually got babies almost around the same season. So we would check, the other kids have sat, they've started crawling, but we look at Nathan, it's like, I don't think everything is working out as per the baby's calendar.
Yeah, yeah.
And later we go back to Google, it's like, these are the things that we were warned about. There could be some delayed milestones about this.
Yeah.
So, presently at that time we were taking care of the wound, the 2 wounds that they healed, because they told us we could go to any clinic for the dressing. So apparently the wound in the stomach healed comfortably well, but the one on the head, it took a bit longer.
Yeah.
And apparently it produced some pus and it got an infection. And the infection, what happened, it didn't just come silently. I remember very well, it was around 8:30 that night. And of course, we had a nanny, and she's normally on and off on Sundays. So when she came back, of course, they want to play with the baby, and it's like we handed over the baby to her. But then she came back a few moments later. It's like, this baby is not okay. He was actually going through a convulsion. We didn't know. Because the head turned, it locked, the eyes turned a different direction. You know, it's like, basically, take your kid. And my wife could not actually handle him. And she said, let me go for the clothes. We have to rush to hospital. And now he started, you know, jerking. And it's like, we've never seen this. Our other children grew up so well. We've never seen this. And I can remember the scenes very well. Actually, he went through a very heavy stool that we've never experienced. We rushed to the car. It's an emergency. We drove to the nearest hospital, Metropolitan. The baby is still jerking. The eyes now have turned white. The head is locked. So on reaching the emergency unit, of course, they told us this is a convulsion. And mind you, in my mind, I've seen this happening to my wife. During that season, she was pregnant. Now, again, this is happening to Nathan. And it got us worried. Of course, they stabilized him, but then they noticed he has a shunt. And they told us the pus in the brain, in the scat, the head, it must have caused some infection. They checked out, and it's true. It's the one that caused that caused the convulsion.
Yeah.
So they stabilized him, and then after a week, they said, since he has a shunt, we can't touch it. You have to go back to where it was put.
Yeah.
And that meant we go back again to Kijabe. Another admission. And the procedure is such that when there's such an infection, the piping cannot be cleaned clinically when it's still in. So Nathan goes through another operation to remove it, literally remove it out. You can imagine the stress. We are living in Nairobi, all the way to Kijabe, all those so many kilometers.
Yeah.
It's an admission, and then by default, it's my wife who is being admitted. And she's still also on anticonvulsants.
Yes.
But her situation was still mild. so she could sleep with her.
Yeah.
By default, what happens that it's the mothers who remain with the kid. So, together with our other two daughters, would just create some time during the weekend because they're in school. So Saturday, we'd drive all the way
to visit them.
Yeah. And then during the surgery, they removed the piping, but now they had to insert an external one.
Yes.
To continue the draining.
Okay, we have to take a quick commercial break. But quickly before we go, Nathan is 8 years old.
Yes.
He goes to school?
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Yes.
What I think maybe the audience need to know at this point is about 2 years ago when Nathan was 6, Beth, your lovely wife, rested.
Yes, sadly she did rest.
It was suddenly?
I will not call it suddenly, but to so many of our friends, it was suddenly.
Okay.
Yeah, why I say suddenly, by the time my wife was passing on, Nathan was 6, right? And this was a journey right from her first trimester, handling seizures. Some interchange them with convulsions. So there was this journey of on and off these convulsions for my wife. For me, it was not really suddenly, it was something that maybe culminated.
Yes.
Because, and since the public didn't know about the intensity of the struggles, because it would happen any time of the day or the night, anywhere.
Yeah.
And our children would see it. Of course, it was wearing them down. It's like, what is this? We believe in God, we've been praying, and this thing doesn't go. It is happening because we would be talking, and then she just snoozes off. She just goes off. She goes off blank. Then hospital, in and out.
Yeah.
So for us, it was a journey. For me, it was a journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when she rested, I reflected back, but I had to put so many details now for our friends, what it was all about.
Catherine Mwangi, gratified that you're still tuned into Stephen Mutuku Jonathan's story. To establish it for you, just in case you're tuning in now, part 1 of the program, we established that Jonathan was happily married to Beth. They had 3 children, still have 3 children. The last born son, Nathan, is the focal point of tonight's conversation, and also how he's a caregiver to his son. 2 daughters, 1 boy. 2 years ago, his wife Beth rested. So an extra layer was added to his life story. So caregiver, single dad, and a special needs child. So, Mutuku, first, I'm very, very grateful that, you know, you're just vulnerable in, you know, sharing this story.
Yeah.
It's not something easy to talk about, but I believe that a lot of, especially single dads, are getting, you know, empowered, and just to know, it helps to know somebody else, you know, is going through that, so they have a reason to, you know, hope again.
Yes.
Or live again. So when Beth rested, you had seen it, so it almost feels like there's this private battle you're going through as a family, where she's concerned, but your friends, you know, your friends knew that Nathan is the, you know, more or less what do you want to call it? Not a challenge. Well, it's challenging,
Yes.
but they knew about Nathan.
Yes.
But with your wife, it was a private battle, and now she's left 2 years ago. And what's running through your mind at that point?
Wow. Actually, the script was quite heavy.
I can imagine.
Because once we realized that the delayed milestones now are so evident, like one was very physical. It still is. Nathan is not able to walk unaided. At some point, of course, he started showing signs of crawling while Beth was still around. And we got excited that it's coming, the walking is coming. Because at some point, even the sitting was an issue. Because let me connect, first of all, after the second surgery, they put an external drainage to continue doing the drainage, but then they had to look for a long-term solution. And at that time, Kijabe had gotten a surgeon from Uganda. Then they don't do shunts. They do a different method of controlling that condition. They call it ETV. It's a very long word, but it's just basically a valve, an artificial valve that is planted. Now this time around, not a pipe. It's a valve planted at the base of the brain to do now the draining. And they saw after the scans, it could, the head of Nathan could accommodate that. So today, that's what he's using. So all the wounds, they healed properly. And again, discharge. That was now the third surgery.
Yeah.
And then we started checking, of course, a lot of therapy and what have you. Then we were looking at the obvious signs of that baby Nathan is coming up well. His speech eventually came. His sitting came. Of course, since the body was still small, you could still see the head was bigger. But then as he grew, unless you're very keen, you may not pick it that he has that condition, unless you're very keen. So the walking, by the way, did not come.
Okay.
And the ability, like the other delayed milestones, like they call it the fine motor. He would shake when he's holding something. He would shake, yeah. And we were so excited about the speech, but we were still assisting him. He cannot do stuff for himself. And then I remember, I think 2019, during the season of COVID, he was almost going to school. But at some point, PP1, at some point, the schools, of course, you remember that season?
Yes.
There was, they were all shut down. Then when COVID passed, we had to take him now for an interview.
Yeah.
And he had actually missed the years for PP1. And then we thank God that Nathan's IQ actually developed so well. We would do therapy, we would go for therapy in hospitals here and there. At some point, we even hired some to come to the house to do the therapy. Right. And in the process, we're also learning that trait.
Yes, how to manage all of that.
And all this.
So what happened when Beth passed on? When
Beth passed on, because I don't want to go to the details, but she rested. And here is Nathan, 6 years old. He doesn't know what is happening. And of course, those initial moments, we would tell him, Mom went to heaven. That is the basic information here that time because we could converse.
Yes.
Because he noticed mom is not there. Of course, the two girls, they know what happened. It was another painful script.
Yes.
But here I am, I'm mourning. I had to take, so to speak, the bull by its horn. I'm the only one who is remaining as the immediate caregiver. Of course, I had to manage the emotions of the girls. It is so much on me. We've just finished burying. The girls are mourning. They are paining, they're asking questions. Personally, I'm also asking questions. And apparently, I happen to be the stronger one in most of the groups that I am in. And people kept off. They don't know what to tell me. And you know, there are some things you cannot abdicate. Nathan is the most immediate. I'm struggling with Michelle. Michelle, who is at that time, by the time the mom was passing, she was actually going to class 8. Also struggling with Shirley, who was also a candidate the same year. So here I am handling their emotions. Of course, the sister is much younger. She told me that I'm going to go and clear my class 8 exams. But she just requested that I should not put her into boarding. In the first term, she went in second term. So here I am. I've managed to quell the emotions for Michelle and Shirley. Now here I am with Nathan.
So who's quelling your emotions? Who's bringing you the comfort? Where are you finding the strength?
Now that's now the other tricky part that I had to struggle with, because at least I got a few of the very close friends who call it white, white and black, black.
Okay.
It's those people who, when they ask you how you don't answer fine.
Yeah.
They pin me down, as in tell me, how can we come through for you? How can I come through for you? As in, you need a support system. Your emotions, you are handling so much.
Did you know what you needed?
It was a confusing moment, because I'm asking myself questions. What is the future holding? My wife's not here. There were 2 incomes here. One has been taken away. And, you know, all these things are running through my mind. And, of course, things like insurance, medical insurance, it came staring at me. You get?
I was going to ask that, like, our insurance companies here, do they cover hydrocephalus?
Now, the good thing about this, the employer where my wife was working, you see, she's passed on in 2022 April. So there was already a cover in place.
For the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year. Her cover, apparently, companies are different, firms are different. Where I work, it covers only the principal member. Now that's me. But on this other side, we were all covered. So I had 2 covers. My place of work and where my wife Beth was working. And that covered all of us.
Okay.
So there was one that covered all of us, inclusive of Nathan with his condition, throughout the whole year.
Okay.
Right. But then, after the burial, I had to be proactive. I started healing after my grieving. I needed to plan ahead, because I knew at some point this cover is going to do what? Expire. And it did. But we started some conversation with the company, because I needed to be proactive. So I engaged them, because if Nathan, that expires, and then, of course, she's no longer an employee of that firm, that means we are out of that cover. So I needed to check my options. So I got a quotation from them. If I was still to come on board with you people, what will the cost be like? And you can be sure it was quite
Of course, astronomers,
high. Astronomers for all of us. And I took another quotation from my place of work, because if you needed to add another member of your family, you pay for it. But now here was the challenge. Nathan would have been considered a pre-existing condition. So there would have been a waiting period if he was to come on board mine. So I go back to where my wife was working, and I said, this has been your member. Can you craft something around him, like for continuity, under your cover? but I'm the one who's going to care for it. So I decided, okay, fine, for my 2 daughters, Michelle and Shirley, I'm going to bring them on board mine, and then Nathan worked for him on this other side. Now this is 2023. So I paid for him on this other side, and to present, that's what is working for him under that.
So you're grieving?
Yes.
Because 2022 April is just the other day. It's just, you know, it's not too far back. You're used to having a helpmeet, a helper, you know, someone who made the journey easier.
Exactly.
And she's not there anymore. And now you have 2 girls and this lovely boy. And now even just listening to you explain that whole medical process, you're doing everything in this, you know, grieving state. Have you even started grieving your wife?
I'm not boasting about this, but I did grieve about her. In fact, I remember initially she rested on her 21st. Every other month, come 21st, this thing will come back again, you know? And I'm very noisy on WhatsApp status, and I would always post her, you know, I'm missing her and what have you. And that was one way of doing what? Expressing that she's gone. Trying to get in the reality that she's normal. And I would put, you know, those good moments. Because I remember, allow me just to mention this. I remember when we were preparing at the send-off, you know, at the morgue they asked me, what do you want us to write on the cross? I didn't want to go the traditional way, the scripture. I just told them, write tutaonana baadaye. Even in my tribute, I said, we are not letting you go. You're still part of us. But slowly and slowly, the reality started dawning that she's not here. In fact, at some point, the updates were so much until one person blocked me, a friend of ours, that Steve, you are trying to heal, and you're still reminding us again about all this.
Why would they block you? It's your process.
That they wanted, he didn't want to see that. And I told them, it's a process that I'm going through. And of course, I had to take over immediately. Of course, she's not there. Because the reality don't, like, adult conversations ended. I'm just there. We have a nanny, I can't express myself to her. My 2 daughters are too young. Nathan is too young to understand all this. And in fact, I remember one time during the school holidays, immediately we buried in May. Then there was, I think, a mid-term around August there. I decided, let me take them back up country. Not because of anything, but I just wanted them to also see the whole scenario, as I also, you know, come to the whole terms of this.
Your own time to
because I needed to
process,
also debrief and process. Of course, Nathan is too young. I took it back to the grave. He couldn't remember anything. My big daughter, my firstborn, was really waiting for that moment because we went like on a Saturday. Then the following day, Sunday, I told her, because it was very intentional, do you want to pass by and
mom's?
Yes, mom's grave. And she said, yes, I've been waiting for it. Of course, we went there, we had our own good moments, we broke down and what have you. Michelle is differently wired. I asked her, do you want to go to mom's grave and all of you? She said, no, Dad, I'm just okay. I'm good, just leave me. So, come to me. This is slowly registering that I need to say bye. I need to let go. So I started toning down, because of course there are other things that, like say the kitchen department, it was fully under our hands. But I had to come there immediately and start organizing stuff here and there. I have to attend to all these school meetings, and shopping for the babies and what have you. And thank God I had started these processes earlier, even when she was still around. So stepping in was not really a big hurdle for me, and it was a big plus. But for sure, I had to, I know I'm built up, got a strong character in me, because having considered the journey that we went through those 6 years, and it was a process. In fact, somebody pinned me down if I was mad at God that she left when Nathan was still young like this. And because the things that happened around her passing on, that happened around that time, right now you would ask me, I reconstructed all that. I'm sure God just let her sleep. As painful as it is, because this is a journey. I'm the one who discovered. I was the first one to see her in that state. We had just basically spoken in the morning, 6:30, and this is 1 o'clock. She's not there.
Yeah.
And everything that happened around that time, I decided let it just come to reality. But as strong as I am, I had to seek for help from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because I attached myself to a counselor
Okay.
who had walked with Beth through that journey.
I see.
Yeah.
Are you still on that journey?
Yes, I'm still on that journey.
Yes.
Because she would pinpoint
Yes.
areas that it seems here you have not really, you've not really mourned your wife properly. Because if you don't do it, it will come and haunt you later on. And as we are speaking today, 21st of every other month, they basically don't really weigh me down as they initially. Not as much. Of course, it will bring the memory. And because there's so many folders that were happening around me, I had to remain strong for the children. Life had to move on. I had to attend to all these things. As much as I'm missing her, imagine going to bed and it is empty. And of course, I did cry.
Of course.
A lot. In fact, initially I used to walk with 2 handkerchiefs. When I'm narrating this, I repeat this, the tears will just flow. The tears will just flow. It was so heavy on me. But I released her. I did release her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is your family now? How's Nathan?
Nathan is a very bubbly boy. Very. That one, God blessed him with that. But of course, the milestones would, you know, he's the happiest child you can ever come across. In fact, like I remember, I always say when we are passing through the guards into our estate, you have to stop for them to
fist bump.
Fist bump, as in,
yeah.
Daddy, you have to stop. Have to, you know. And he loves singing. He's got a very sharp mind.
Okay.
You give him the laptop. He's picked up so much, despite those other milestones. Like the shaking is still there. Because at some point, Nathan was also put on a long-term medication, which also affected my wife's journey. Because that would also trigger the convulsions. Like now my baby boy is going through the same thing that I've gone through. Because I used to register anytime after every bout on a wall planner. I see the trend and all this. So eventually we had to sign in for a long-term medication for him. So that has continued. Actually, presently as we are talking, he's under 3 different drugs. Anticonvulsants, 2, and 1 to take care of the fine motor. Because I'm working around it, like sometimes he would hold a cup, he cannot really sustain it. That shaking has affected his handwriting. Of course, you'll expect it. But we are trying to, actually that medication for the drug for the fine motor was introduced this March to see if it can tone down. We're still waiting for the signs to improve.
So for people watching and listening to your story, and for parents also, you know, going through the same, where they have to be caregivers to their children, and not have to be, but these are, you know, flesh and blood. So you have to be there, you have to stand there and support your children. Obviously, it has not been easy, but there are those who watching you, and they may want to help you in whichever way. I know you haven't asked for it, But there are people who just watch and they look at you and they say, I would like to stand with this man in whichever way possible. How can they reach you?
One is emotional. Sometimes, by the way, you may look strong, but at times you just need a hug. That this is too much. How can you go through all this? Because here is Nathan, he can't dress himself. At least he makes some effort. Okay. So there's a pay bill that is currently running. The details, the PIN number is 8265676, and the account name is your name. Or you can reach me out on 0722 633 722. Stephen Mutuku Jonathan. That's my M-Pesa number, and thanks for giving me this opportunity even to reach out to the well-wishers out there. You can always reach me out on those two avenues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what you said also earlier when you said sometimes all you just need is a hug, you know, and I think that's really powerful. And to those who are watching and you're in a position to just help, I know you've done that a lot on this program. And by now, you know, if you're an avid watcher or viewer of What's Your Story, the people we bring on this show are authentic. And you have heard his story. You can go to his social media platforms, which are?
There is Facebook, Stephen Mutuku Jonathan.
Okay.
There is YouTube at Steve Emoji or Stephen Mutuku Jonathan. You'll get or Mutmog at IG. You'll get at Mutmog. Mutmog, by the way, it's a fusion of my two names. That is Mutuku. The emoji is a man of God.
Yeah.
So it's Mutmog at Mutmog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also on TikTok.
Yeah.
Stephen Mutuku.
Oh, you're also on TikTok.
Yes,
but
I'm also on TikTok.
You have Gen Zs, so
Yes.
so you have to be on.
Yeah, I'm also on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, I think you're a very, very strong man, and
Thank you.
I also think that you know, one never quite loses a spouse. You know, somehow they're always there.
True.
Somehow they're always there. They're just taking care of you from a different dimension.
True.
So even as you continue to heal, we can only pray and hope that the journey becomes less, you know, becomes lighter, less weightier on you, and that just somehow, you know, you will smile again from the heart.
True.
And not just from the face.
Exactly.
But your heart will smile again. We are believing that for you.
Thank you.
And I thank you for coming to the show tonight.
Wow.
Thank you so much. And to you watching, tonight's show, like we said at the start, was intended to inspire, elevate, and empower you. Stay well and